Now,
Go
where
ahead.
was I?
Okay, you met your parents.
Oh, I met my parents, and my grandmother told me to go knock on the door. And I met my parents for the first time when I went up there to knock on my door, and here's this sawed-off little Filipino jumping up and down, hollering "Junior," and I didn't know who he was. And my mother was laying on the couch. I remember her laying on the couch, and she wouldn't even get up. And my grandmother was in there. My dad, who was the Filipino guy, was trying to grab me and hold me, and I was running around my grandmother, and my grandmother kept telling me, "Unawani, tata no unawani. That's your dad." I said, "Yeah, ikinamisu. That's your mother." I said, "No." She said, "Yeah, that's your mom," in our language. And I said, so in my language, I looked at my grandmother and said, "Then who are you?" And my grandmother looked at me and said, "Umakwi," because I always called her mom. I said, "Umakwi." All right. Kinami una. Dada and dokuna. That's your dad. Unami. Mama and dokuna. I said, "No, Dada kayo makmi tawani itok. Tawani ito ko siya." I said, "My dad's in the ocean. That's where he died." And I said, "No, then she said, "No, that's your uncle." So I was confused at the age of 9. I really didn't know who I was meeting. When I met my parents, and my mom was a kind of a mean person, and my dad was also, actually, because my English was really bad. I couldn't say, "Can I have a glass of water, please?" I'd just say, "Water, I need water." And they would tell me how to ask the question. But they would not just tell me how to ask the question, they would slap me because I wouldn't ask the question right. So I became kind of confused. And then when I went to school, I couldn't read. And while I was in school, my teachers would tease me because I couldn't read right. I didn't know English that well anyhow. 3rd grade when I went to Seattle. And my teacher in there had me stand up in front of the class and read a book. And I was reading the book, and while I was reading the book, my teacher grabbed the book because I said that instead of that, duh instead of the, see that dog run, I said. And when I said that, she walked up to me and she slapped me the book in the face by hitting the book into my face, knocking me on my back, surprising the daylights out of me. And I was laying there crying. She picked me up by my hair. There's something about my hair, I don't know what it was. My mother used to hang me by my hair. And my teacher picked me up by the hair, slapped the book into my chest, and asked me, "Where do you see dat and that?" I said, "All," and she asked me, I remember she asked, like yesterday, she said, "Because you're a native, are you as stupid as the rest of the Indians? Or is your whole culture that way?" And I started thinking, man, I'm to blame. I was kind of like to blame for my whole culture to be stupid. But when it was just me, because I couldn't read. So, and when I was crying, my teacher looked at me and then looked at the class and said, "Oh, look, the baby's crying." And then after, I don't remember what I said or didn't, but I remember sitting in front of the principal's office, and the principal looked over. I remember he sat there and he was looking over his glasses at me, and he said, "Young man, what happened to your face?" And my teacher looked over at my face and said, "Oh, we had a little accident now, didn't we?" And I said, that's when I quit school. And my grades became F's and D's, incompletes, zeros, whatever. And I think they used to just pass me from grade to grade and just to get me out of their class because I would do nothing. Spelling tests, I didn't do those. Math tests, I didn't do those. I didn't do nothing in school. And I got to where I became very bitter in my growing days. And I met my wife when I was 15. We started running together. And I didn't have the brains or the know-how to ask her out. I asked her out. My friend actually asked my wife out. They asked me to see if she'd go to the prom with me. It was her prom, not my prom. I never graduated. I quit school from when I was in the 7th grade. I think I was 13 or 14 or 15. I can't remember when I quit. But it didn't matter. I had moved out on my dad. I was on my own at the age of 13, started making my own man decisions then. Lived on my own, and never cared for nothing. I never really cared for myself. And when I met my wife, Helen, I started dating with her, and I'd go fishing. And I made my own living by fishing or working in the cannery. Lied about my age, worked in the cannery that way. And when I went fishing, I'd write her letters all the time. And when we became 18, I proposed to her, and we got married. But I was still an angry person. I didn't know the Lord then. I was not a Christian. My mother always told me as a child that God was damning me as a child. And so, why should I pay attention to God? If my mom don't care about me, the teachers didn't care about me, God don't care about me, that's obvious. My mother always told me that God was damning me, so I just had nothing to do for God, nothing to do with Him. And I used to go, my wife went to church all the time. I was an alcoholic. Notice I said was. I'm not going to say that, hi, my name is Alfred, I'm an alcoholic. I'm not. I'm a recovered alcoholic. I was a drug addict. I did that too. I hid in drugs and I hid in alcohol. But mostly I hid behind my anger. I hid a lot behind my anger. And I'd go to church every now and then just to go take a nap at church. But my wife would ask me, you want to go to church? I'd go to church. And I'd go, go to sleep at church. And one of our pastor, Bob Lee, walked up and said, Alfred, one day I'm going to preach fire and brimstone, and I'm going to make you stay awake. I said, first you got to be interested in that garbage. He said, yeah, I guess so. Well, another pastor came in, and he started talking about promise keepers. And I just went to the church, and I was kind of interested. I actually stayed awake in this when he talking about the promise keepers. And I told my wife when we went home from church and sat down to dinner table to eat lunch, and I told her, why don't you go get me some tickets? I'll go to it. I'll go see what that's about. I never knew why I was going. But I went to the Promise Keepers, and actually when I got ahead of myself. What I should tell you is that they go get me the tickets. Before I said tickets, my wife was out the door and got my tickets and had me my tickets. And I said, well, get some for the boy too. So he called those in. I took my boy. My boy had never seen me cry. Only time he ever seen me cry was when I was drunk, Sober, but anyway, we got into this 65,000 men. And I was looking around at all these idiots believing in a myth. How stupid is this? 65,000 men, 3 tiers of men, all sitting here getting ready for this big conference that I was attending. Not really knowing why I was there. Gordon Giles was there with me. I was sitting there looking at all these guys, and I could still see them today. And the guy said, we're going to sing a song, actually, and the song's going to be right here in the bulletin, and I want you to sing along with me if you can. Those of you who know the words, sing it with us. Those of you who don't, hum it with us, whistle it, but make a joyful noise, if you will. And the band did the introduction, and he said, gentlemen, if you'd rise. Listen to 65,000 men stand up. It sounds like thunder. We all stood up, all reached up and grabbed hands, and we all stood up. And I'm shorter than these two guys. My son's taller than I am. Gordon's taller than I am, so I'm sitting here like this, and I didn't wear glasses at the time. And we started singing the song. The band did the introduction into the song, and 65,000 men started singing, "Oh Lord my God," and I am often wonder, and I started to cry. And I couldn't stop crying. And I'm trying to dry my eyes because I'm embarrassed and I'm crying. And I'm sitting there trying to dry my eyes off my shirt. My son's looking at me like this. Dad, you okay? Because he's never seen me cry. I said, I'm all right. I'm all right. Just sing the song. And I sat down in my chair. I remember the stadium chairs, like the theater chairs. And I got as low as I could when the song was over, trying to hide because I had cried. I was so ashamed of my tears. I was more proud of my anger than I was my tears. I was such an angry person. And when the guys did a call forward and asked men to come forward, 10,000, I'll bet you, went forward. Easy that. Went up forward to accept the Lord. And I sat in my chair as low as I could, and I accepted the Lord. And when I was sitting there, the guy said, I know someplace in this auditorium there's men that accepted the Lord but refused to come forward. Doesn't matter. Don't really matter why you didn't want to come forward. But what I want you to do right now is I want you to stand and acknowledge the Lord. He says, if those of you are embarrassed of me, so shall I be in the presence of my Father. So I stood up. Gordon Giles looking up at me. Alfred grabbed my hand. He started shaking my hand. Welcome aboard, Alfred. Welcome aboard. And he started holding my hand, shaking my hand. And Gordon was sitting. I went into his shop one time, and Gordon says, we're sitting there, I was asking him questions about the Bible. Asking him a lot of questions that other people already knew about the Bible. I knew little of it. And I was pretty much illiterate at that time. I could barely read. And I finally asked the Lord, and I said, Lord, you need to help me to read so that I can understand your word, what you're saying to me. And Gordon looked at me and says, you know, Alfred, you went into the stadium an angry, bitter person. You had so much anger in you. And he said, you come out a whole different person. One of our elders in my church walked up to me and said, you know, Alfred, you hit me one time. You gave me a black eye. And his wife says, yeah. You knocked my husband out. And I said, I did? I said, I don't remember doing that. And he said, no. I had that blackout rage. I had the same rage my mother had. I think my mother was always, she'd go into a rage and black out. Most of the time when she got mad her focus was towards me. I mean, sometimes she'd lift me up by, a 9-year-old kid, lift me up by my hair and then just throw me around that way. I'd grab her wrist to hold on to her wrist, and she'd yell at me for holding on and telling me to let go of her wrist. Or she'd hold me by my hair and then she'd punch me in the face and watch me and ask me, are you crying? And I said, no, I'm not crying. I didn't wear glasses when I was a kid, and I'd say, I ain't crying. Look at my eyes. My nose would be bloody. And I'd look at her and she'd look, then why are your eyes so wide? I must have got dust in my eyes, I'd tell her. And then she'd slap me with everything she had and she'd like. And then she'd stare at me. I'd just wait for me to break. And if I broke and started crying, she'd, ooh. Men don't cry, she used to tell me. It just beat the living snot out of me. There were several times that I'd wake up with my mouth, I couldn't even... You know, I'd go to school. What used to bug me today? I'm thinking about today. I'd go to school all busted up. Not one of those teachers would ask why. Not one. So I got to the point where I didn't care for nothing. Didn't care for anybody. My wife was my possession. She wasn't my wife. I owned her when we said I do. And after I went to a Beauty for Ashes and back in 2005. That's when I started learning about my wife. Her wants and her needs. The needs of my children, my grandchildren. What my children and my wife missed was me. Thank you.
And Alfred, so you you weren't a very angry person, and after Jesus came into your life, you discovered exactly how bad that anger had been, and God took it all away from you.
Amen to that. I mean, now I work with FWWI, Family Wellness Warriors Initiative, to try and help people to step away from the anger and the bitterness that they hide in their hearts. And I've done sermons up in the church, up at the pulpit, trying to explain how God says, "Come unto me, all you who are heavy laden, and I will give you rest." And He will give you rest, without a doubt in my mind. And the rest is not when you say, "Lord, forgive me of my sin." The rest is when you can say, "Mom, I forgive you for the way you treated me. Teachers, I forgive you for the way you treated me." If you let this go, your bitterness go inside you, there's no other room in there but for God.
And it's through Jesus Christ and His love for you that you've discovered how to forgive.
Amen to
and
that.
to let go.
Who hung on the cross for me and said, "Father, forgive him, for he knows not what he does"?
Alfred, thank you for coming today and sharing your testimony. God bless you.
Thank you.